Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Colette and I'm here today to do the astrology part of my two-part reading. I've just done the tarot reading, so for anybody who's interested, that will be, if it's not already up, it will be up soon for you to go and check that out. But this is my intuitive interpretation of what is taking place over the next 2 weeks between the new moon that's just taken place in Taurus and the upcoming full moon that is taking place in Sagittarius, which will be a lunar eclipse as well, as the moon will be next to the south node. So that will be the next energy that we will be dealing with. But this new moon in Taurus, I am calling it the righteousness of rage. And the reason that I'm calling it that is because conjunct this new moon, which is taking place at 21 degrees, we have black moon Lilith sitting there at 22 degrees. And I have spoken quite a bit about black moon Lilith in the past. I believe that she has a big part to play in what is happening at this time in our lives. And I also believe that she has a big part to play as we move into the next few months ahead as well. So I'm going to start off telling you about this new moon. Sorry, my nose is really itchy there. So this new moon is taking place in the earthy fixed sign of Taurus at the 21 degree and 17 mark on the 11th of May 2021 at 19:59 hours UK time. Anyone with any planets or points between the 16 to 26 degrees of the other three fixed houses, which are Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius, are going to feel this most strongest. Particularly Aquarius, because there's still Jupiter and Saturn sitting there as well. So, whereas Leo and Scorpio don't actually have any planets in their signs at this time. So collectively, it is taking place in the second house energy, which is ruled over by the planet Venus. And individually, you may want to check this out when it comes to your own chart to see where this new moon energy will fall for you personally. And there will be a link in the description box down below for you to do that, because that's where the energy will show up on an individual level for you in your life, in whichever house it's taking place in. But collectively, it's taking place in the second house. So with this new moon, we continue the theme of having a stellium of planets sitting in the same sign as the sun. Two of them are our inner planets, the sun and moon, while the other is the outer planet Uranus. Both the sun and the moon are being challenged at this time by two squares, both coming from the fellow fixed sign energy of Aquarius. The sun squaring Saturn at 13 degrees 24 began on the 23rd of April. It was also occurring during last month's full moon in Scorpio. The moon will join this square on the 10th of May and will be exact roughly 16 hours before the new moon takes place. She will finish squaring Saturn at 23 degrees 17 just after the new moon, and the sun will do the same 2 days later on the 13th. So that's when the sun will finish the square with Saturn. This aspect will bring a sense of commitment, responsibility and a desire to make whatever is being formed at this time, because it is a new moon, long lasting. So it's going to give the ability to make something that's long lasting and something that you can commit to. Something that you are going to want to plant deep in the soil of your emotions and imagination, with a desire to nurture it slowly, to bring it to fruition. And the challenge with this square is not to be too rigid or restrictive with ourselves, To give ourselves enough space and time to allow this new vision to grow into the best possible version it can become. Yet, at the same time, recognising the need not to overindulge in what could ultimately become self-destructive behaviour by going over the top just for the satisfaction of it, which is very Taurian in many ways. Taurus is a very kind of indulgent sign, shall we say. It does like to enjoy all the pleasures of life, so sometimes it can have us going over the top on things as well. And that is kind of the challenge, is not to overindulge, to know when to kind of say enough. So the second square from Aquarius is coming from Jupiter at 29 degrees 45, which our Sun has just started to square the previous day and will be exact with on the 21st of May. The Moon is connecting with this energy a few hours before she meets up with the Sun, and will continue to square Jupiter through to the next day, where she will be exact at 29 degrees 50, just before she slips into Gemini 19 minutes later. This Jupiter energy with the Moon will cease on the 13th, but it will be ongoing with our Sun up until the 1st of June, during which time everything could very well feel or appear to be larger than life, as Jupiter adds emphasis to this new moon with his optimism, bountifulness, benevolence and beneficial energy. Not to forget his ability for over-exaggeration, the pull to over-enjoy life, again more of that kind of Taurian indulgence meeting up with Jupiter. Even though it's square, it's still an energy of overindulgence, overdoing something, emphasizing something, something being magnified. So yeah, the pull to over-enjoy life or to over-restrict ourselves from the pleasures all around us. It could go either way. So something else to watch for in the collective is any major new inventions, innovations and ideas, particularly around the food industry, food itself, trade in general, building/property, developments, and the banking financial systems, as these all come under the Taurus domain and are likely to be highlighted in this new moon. Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac. It is the first fixed and the first earth, which means we find this new moon happening in what I like to call the Garden of Delights. So Taurus is the domain of all the five senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch, which is why Taurus can get overindulgent very easily. And all these things come under the auspices of Taurus, the bull/cow. As such, Taurus is well known for their love of indulgence in luxury and opulence, and all things that heighten those senses and bring great physical satisfaction on all levels. This comes not only from being a sensual earth sign, but also from the fact Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. In Greek, she is known as Aphrodite, which also means sexual pleasure, which is also where we get the word aphrodisiac from. Originally, Venus/Aphrodite may have started out as a Phoenician goddess known as Ashtaroth, who may herself have come from the Egyptian form of a goddess known as Astarte, and the Mesopotamian Ishtar or Inanna, who is often shown as wearing a set of bull horns, which could be the reason why Venus is now accepted as the ruler of Taurus. All of these different aspects of the goddess have the same thing in common. They were worshipped as deities of fertility and sexuality. Venus today is seen as being the goddess of love, beauty, artistic pleasures, romance, values, and all things of a sensual nature. She is also the ruler of our personal possessions, as well as our personal finances, which can go hand in hand, as in order to possess things of beauty, we also need to have an understanding of how the financial system works for us, which is also where the Venusian idea of values comes into play, as not everyone is going to have the same idea of what is or isn't valuable to them. Taurus is a very practical earthy sign, and as such, for some, the simplistic life of living in the countryside with some chickens, a veggie patch, a happy home and family is enough to satisfy them. For others, the need for safety and security may drive them to accumulate vast amounts of wealth, a healthy bank balance, large palatial homes. This is not only for their own sense of achievement, but also to let others know how successful they have become. The world itself can become their playground, as Taurus believes everything has a price. And in this financial dominated reality, it does. But some prices are more than just financial. The nature of Mother Earth herself is to give freely and willingly, to share her abundance, as everything we have originates from her, right down to the atoms that make up our physical body, which never leave this material domain we exist in, as they return back to where they originated from in order to be recycled. We are billions of years old, and this is what is meant by we were made from the clay. Every single one of our cells originates from this beautiful planet we come here to experience life, learn and grow spiritually from. In Greek mythology, it was Gaia and Uranus who created the Titans, Mother Earth, Gaia, and Uranus, the father sky god. It is said that Uranus was born from chaos, and Uranus in astrology is known as the god of chaos, as well as lightning, and Uranus is actually in Taurus as well at this time. So if you take this as an allegory, meaning a story being told in symbolic form, then we could see how present-day science is now saying that life began on Mother Gaia due to all the electrical storms and lightning at the very dawning of our existence. When Uranus is in Taurus, crazy things happen, which change the course of human history forever, and Uranus will remain here for another 5 years. So both the Sun and the Moon are also making sextiles with dreamy, nebulous, magical and mystical Neptune at 22 degrees 39 minutes. Still in its home sign of Pisces, Neptune is adding a supportive layer of the unknowable, of self-sacrifice, and of asking us to trust in our process and our own deeper sense of intuition and knowing within our body. Listening to our gut responses, knowing we know without knowing how or why, can all play a part in this process of learning to trust our own instincts. Understanding that when this happens, it is us tapping into a much bigger source energy of conscious awareness, which is beyond the material dimension, yet at the same time, it is not separate from us. It is, though, more than the 5 physical senses we use naturally, daily in our lives. The Moon recently met up with Neptune in the early hours of the 6th of May, so we could have been feeling wide open and maybe a little more vulnerable, emotionally charged or on edge while this was happening. The energy then peaked at exactly 22 degrees 32 minutes at 22:16 hours the same day. The following day on the 7th, the Moon left Neptune behind as she moved forward and entered the cardinal initiating energy of Aries, crossing over the axis mundi and carrying her communication with Neptune along with her. The Sun has been in a sextile with Neptune a day earlier than the Moon on the 5th of May. As the Moon's masculine counterpart, he has been and will continue to be during this new moon in a sympathetic, empathic and deeply supportive relationship with Neptune, as well as the Moon during their conjunction. The Sun has been offering his strength, moral support and courage, while Neptune has been giving the Sun her inner wisdom, knowledge and guidance. Working together, the three of them are helping to fit in the missing parts of what has been a long, confusing, and too often at times crazy, exhausting 17 months. This sextile will become exact at 22 degrees 41 minutes, 2 days after the new moon on the 13th, and in all this energy will continue for just over a fortnight until the 20th of May, just before the Sun enters Gemini. Retrograde Pluto has now reached 26 degrees 45 minutes of Capricorn, which means we find him during this new moon in a trine aspect with both the Sun and the Moon. Although the trine energy is one of the best energies for influence between planets when it comes to Pluto, this still means it will be a hard and difficult combination. Here we are dealing with life-changing, transformative, evolutionary, historical endings, none of which come easily. Pluto is not known as the lord of the underworld, Hades, originally for fun. The word Hades, which became itself to be associated with the place where the dead go to rest, literally translates as unseen. And this is part of Pluto's work, to bring the unseen to the surface, for us to face our greatest fears, as difficult and painful as they may be, so that it can be allowed to transform them, so that it can be allowed to transform them, then be released from the body, so that it doesn't become toxic and poison us from the inside out, as this is something else Pluto rules over. So over the period of this new moon, the Sun will also be highlighting for us whatever it is that we are needing to work with, work through, by bringing it up from the depths from where we have been keeping it out of sight and out of mind. This transit with the Moon and Pluto will be occurring for about 8 hours previous to the new moon, and it will be exact at 22 degrees 45 minutes on the following day, and it will culminate on the 13th. The Sun and Pluto will begin to trine on the 7th of May, 4 days before the new moon. It will become exact at 26 degrees 43 minutes on the 17th of May. This powerful energy will continue altogether for 20 days, completing on the 27th, by which time the Sun will be at 6 degrees and 6 minutes in Gemini, and we will have just experienced a total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on the 26th of May. The biggest energy, however, overall at the time of this new moon in Taurus is definitely Black Moon Lilith. At 22 degrees 30, she is less than 1 degree apart from the Sun and the Moon, making an incredibly powerful conjunction. Therefore, every aspect that is being made by the Sun and Moon is also being felt by Black Moon Lilith, who has been conjunct the Sun since the 2nd of May, becoming exact at 22 degrees 40, 2 days from the new moon. So that would be the 13th of May when they become conjunct exact. So Neptune and Black Moon Lilith have been sextile since the 3rd week of March. A month later, Black Moon Lilith began to trine with Pluto. I recently heard Black Moon Lilith being described as righteous rage, which is a perfect description as a personification of all those feelings that we still hold in our bodies when we think of situations that have happened in our lives that we have a right to feel anger about. Situations we had no control over, for instance, can cause us to feel resentment, frustration, disempowered, unwanted, unloved, which can lead to bitterness and revenge, which is part of that poisonous energy of Pluto as well, those toxic energies that sit within us and don't come up to be transformed and released and allowed to change, to be like an alchemical kind of change within our bodies. This is all Black Moon Lilith energy, which is being highlighted during the new moon conjunction in Taurus, which means we will be feeling this energy of righteous rage within our bodies, and with Pluto trining this trio, it will change us on a deeper evolutionary level. As Black Moon Lilith is like the female version of Pluto in many ways. Both deal with the bigger mysteries of life, the primordial energies of sex and death, and all things that are considered taboo. The kind of behaviour we would often prefer not to acknowledge as being a reality, from this new moon will be strongly activated right up until October. As Black Moon Lilith will be in this trine, due to Pluto now being in retro between now and August. They will be travelling through the sky together. When that aspect finishes, she will go on to conjunct the North Node in Gemini while opposing the South Node in Sagittarius. Big, big energy surges. For now though, what we are dealing with is the raw, creative energy of the female psyche in the feminine sign of the bull, regardless of our own personal gender. Black Moon Lilith is the dark side of the moon that we never get to see. She is the point when the moon is furthest away from our Earth and crosses over the path of the ecliptic of our sun. As such, she represents our deep and darkest hidden emotions. She is the dark mother, the side of Mother Nature that is wild and untamable, that has the ability to take anything away from us and destroy everything in her path. This energy is only going to get more and more intense from this new moon until October. How it feels to me and what I'm getting from this is an energy of nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, as this is about our own personal bodies and facing our biggest fears, which for the vast majority of us on this planet is the recognition of our own mortality. Over these past 17 months, we, the collective, have had to look at this concept in a way that we have not been forced to since 1939 to 1945, when the collective experienced that unleashing of an angry primordial force of nature, during which time Uranus was in Taurus, squaring Black Moon Lilith, who was just getting ready to enter Pisces. Interestingly, we experienced a very similar situation back in 2019, as Black Moon Lilith once again was about to enter the sign of Pisces and 12th house energy of self-undoing, where we lack the capacity to make good judgments, so instead we make bad choices. Only this time, Neptune, the ruler of Pisces and all things 12th house, was waiting to connect with Black Moon Lilith. And personally, I believe the result of that is what we have lived through for these past 17 months of saying. So going back to in history, because I kind of went in and had a look at where Black Moon Lilith was around that time, on the 1st of December of 1939, Black Moon Lilith was conjunct Mars in Pisces while being square to the Sun in Sagittarius. So Mars is at his weakest in Pisces, and it almost felt to me like he was kind of handing the baton over to Black Moon Lilith, as this was an energy of igniting that primordial rage, which again we experienced in August 2020, particularly as it was being squared by the Sun in Sagittarius as well. So there was a lot of kind of fire energy kind of bringing all of that stuff up. And Pisces is about things that are unseen. It's about, it can be about victimhood and boundarylessness. And I kind of see what happened during those years with that kind of almost like a a dark plague across the world, so to speak. It's kind of like the same thing but in a different form is how I see this energy. Like back then it was done through the manipulation of men's protecting their own country, shall we say. Again, it's difficult to say certain words because it does kind of trigger things on the channel, so I don't want to kind of say things that's going to stop my channel from being able to be on here. But this time round I feel it's the same kind of energy, only this time it's come out in a different form due to the fact possibly that it actually Black Moon, Lilith and Neptune actually came together this time round, with Neptune actually in Pisces. All that 12th house energy was magnified. So when Black Moon, Lilith and Mars once again came together, this time in Aries, while conjunct the Moon, which was in August of 2020, the people and our collective emotions at the same time being trined by the Sun in Leo this time, was a truly explosive situation, with Jupiter expansion, Pluto transformation and Saturn hard lessons all sextile Neptune in that 12th house. So we had Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn sitting in Capricorn, all sextile to Neptune at that time, while the Sun was in Leo and trining the energy of Black Moon, Lilith and Mars, and everything. If you go back to the summer, August 2020, everything really kind of exploded, huge style, like putting a fire underneath something and kind of watching it come alive. So this house is also the end of the journey. The 12th house energy is the end. It's when you get to the end of the zodiac, but it's also the beginning. It's the unknown that is coming into being. It also rules over things that cannot be seen with the naked eye, such as plagues, illness, faith and trust. It is the higher octave of our spiritual consciousness, teaching us to sit in stillness and silence, in prayer, in meditation, to listen to the answers from within ourselves. It is the place we go to dissolve our ego, our logical, craving, attaching mind, to recognise we are all a part of that higher conscious frequency, and that we are more than just the sum of our parts, our physical body and its needs, which are all very Taurian energies. This new moon this energy with its sextile from Neptune at 22 degrees and 39 minutes is reminding us that we are able to transcend beyond the righteous rage we may be feeling at this time. But to do so, we have to be prepared to face it full on, not to back away from the darkness of our emotions, our shadow, or that raw primordial energy. In myth, it is said that Lilith was the first wife of Adam, who refused to allow herself to be subjugated or to always have to lie beneath him. Symbolically, this energy is saying to be true to who you are. Go into your fears, your darkness, your emotional no-go areas, and transform them from within. It is time for us to face this darkness, both collectively and individually, as in doing so, we will be giving ourselves permission to be free from those fears and dark places which we have unknowingly allowed to control us. With Pluto involved here, this feels like it is taking place at a really deep cellular, transformational and evolutionary level, like the removal and letting go on a karmic level for humanity, in order for future generations to no longer have to carry that burden. There is a a belief by the ancient Chinese that if you release something, if you let something go, it's something that's stored 7 generations previous, and it will release 7 generations into the future. So it's kind of saying that if you want to clear something out, it's like this massive, like 14 generations worth of stuff basically that is not going to be passed on into future generations. So from 7 generations back, we are still carrying all that stuff that basically has been kind of put into us via our ancestors and our history and our own parenting, etc., etc., all that kind of conditioning that we carry with us without even realizing a lot of it's there. It's saying that if we release, if we let go of this energy, we actually release it 7 generations into our future as well, possibly even further. But basically what it's saying is that there will be 7 generations that will no longer experience that same storyline. Which is why on some level it's very vital for us to be able to clear it out, because we're not only doing it for ourselves, we're also doing it for our future generations as well. So during this new moon, we have Mars sitting at 11 degrees and 7 minutes in Cancer, while he is sextile Uranus, also at 11 degrees 19 minutes, which will become exact early hours of the 12th. Not long after the new moon becomes conjunct Uranus. Uranus is still in a very loose conjunction with the Sun, which was there during the full moon in Scorpio. Sextile Mars, this feels like an energy of deep triggering, of sudden outbursts of emotion that could come out of the blue and shock us as to why or where this emotion is coming from. This also feels like it is tied into the Black Moon Lilith energy, as Cancer is also a feminine sign ruled by the moon. It is related to the mother, the universal womb. So once again, we are dealing with raw and primordial emotion. Mars is also square to Chiron in Aries, so our challenge and the difficulty may be in not projecting this outwardly and blaming it on others, as they are just the catalyst for whatever comes up for us at this time, in order for us to heal. Again, this relates to deep cellular shifting of blocked wounds and righteous rage. We may also experience all this rage in the physical domain of Earth herself, as Taurus is the sign that best suits her energetically. So we could see raging storms, more volcanic activity, earthquakes and electrical storms, both in actuality as well as the world of politics and what controls our physical domain. Also, that could also be the financial system as well. As I was saying, there could be big shifts, big movement within the financial system at this time. So Venus left the sign of Taurus on the 9th of May and is now to be found at 03 degrees and 10 minutes in Gemini. She is making a square with Jupiter, who is in the last degree of Aquarius at 29 degrees 45 minutes and getting ready to enter Pisces on the 14th of May. This is what's known as a soft square, as both Venus and Jupiter are gentle, optimistic and benevolent energies. Venus and Jupiter here are looking for new solutions to old problems or issues. Venus is wanting a fresh look and a new beginning from a higher perspective of love, relationships and partnerships. Venus is going to be gathering all the details together as she moves further into Gemini, looking for knowledge that best makes sense to her before making any major decisions at this time. She's also going to be going over the same ground she went over last year during her retrograde period. So for some, this could bring back relationship situations that may have a familiar feel about them. Could even be the same relationship dynamic coming round again for the second time to see whether or not things will work out this time or whether it's changed at all. and this time it could actually have more substance within the relationship and more longevity about it. So Venus in Gemini wants to communicate. She wants to express and share how she's feeling. On the 13th of May, Venus will become conjunct with the North Node, which feels like a doorway opening up for that brand new vision and brand new level of understanding and seeing things with more clarity and a higher perspective. As on the 18th, they will become exact at 11 degrees 34 minutes, as they are both forming sextiles with the moon in Leo, along with a sextile to Chiron in Aries and a trine with Saturn. This is truly beautiful energy, as at the same time Venus and the North Node, our karmic destiny, will be opposing the South Node, what we need to karmically release, while the South Node is being trined by the Moon and Chiron, the wounded healer, and sextiled by Saturn. This is actually creating a beautiful kite pattern with the head point at Venus and the North Node, while the tail end is pointing to the South Node in Sagittarius. So this to me is saying it's time to heal and release the old wounds and patterns, and to let the new story begin, which really seems to be the theme for these ending weeks of May. Also with the moon in Leo as well, it's kind of saying have that courage to go within, have that courage to work with your emotions, even if you don't want to acknowledge them. Be strong, be courageous. So this is about aligning with what is your heart's desire, whether that is a person, a place, a goal, a dream. It's time to bring it out of the mind, the ethereal, and into the real world. Mercury at 12 degrees 08 is also in Gemini, in his home sign, and conjunct the North Node, which he has just passed over, having been exact a few hours before the new moon, adding to that want and need to communicate, write down, express in some way and some form. Mercury is also in a trine with Saturn at 13 degrees 24 minutes from Aquarius. Mercury also just wants to chat, be it with friends, both old or new. Mercury is looking for people he can intellectually connect with, learn from, exchange opinions, as well as share his wisdom and what he has learnt and thinks about life. Mercury is at this time feeling open-minded, flexible and ready to embrace new ideas and change at a quantum level. As Gemini and Mercury rule over all forms of communication, including our media, we may find alternative sources of this will become even more popular at this time, especially as the internet is becoming more and more censored and freedom of speech is being restricted ever more heavily. Mercury is about to go into his shadow period on the 15th of May at 16 degrees and 9 minutes, but I think we'll see more of that kind of restricting energy happening as well, more kind of close communication rather than broader communication. I feel there's more restriction, more kind of closing down of certain things is more likely to happen as things get kind of crazier out there. There will be more restriction to do with communication, but at the same time there will be more, it feels like more kind of local groups of people coming together to talk about how they feel and to kind of make changes in the world. So Mercury is going to station retrograde on the 29th of May at 24 degrees 40 minutes, during which time we will be internalizing a lot more of our thought process. And it's also again a good time to write things down, to get it out on paper or to tell people, which again is why I feel that we're probably going to move more into a time of smaller kind of groups, local community groups kind of working together. So lastly, we have Saturn at 13 degrees 24 minutes, who is still in his ongoing square with Uranus. Saturn has been in his shadow period and slowing down since February the 14th, when he hit the 06 degree 52 minute mark. Being such a large planet, it takes Saturn a while to put the brakes on. Saturn is now getting ready to station retrograde on the 23rd of May, when he reaches 13 degrees and 31 minutes. Due to his retro, Saturn will once more for the second time be squaring off with the planet of revolutionary change at precisely 13 degrees and 6 minutes. So this will be Saturn and Uranus coming back together again in an exact square. So we will feel the intensity of the old paradigm challenging the new. Only this time Uranus is moving direct and will have the advantage, but more on that at a later date. So the Sabian symbol for 22 degrees Taurus is a finger pointing to a line in an open book. And the keynote is learning to discern what in your culture and religion is meaningful to you personally. And that's really interesting because I've just done the tarot reading for this, and I pulled an light angel guidance card, and the card that actually came out was discernment. So that's very interesting. This symbol evokes the traditional practice when one is in need of guidance, of opening at random a sacred book, for Christians the Bible, and spontaneously placing one's finger on a paragraph. We are parts of a cultural, religious whole, and every whole has a message for its many parts. If these are willing to submit their little wills to the great meaning and destiny of the whole, in an even broader sense, the open mind can learn to detect signatures in many events which he has allowed to occur. The too great reliance on repeated symbolizations can lead to a schizoid state of over-subjective dependence upon signs and omens, which is interesting in itself as well. Because there are people who say that the world is run by signs and omens. So we can put a lot of belief into that. So this is the first stage of the 11th five-fold sequence of symbolic phases in the general process of differentiation. By relying on cultural guidance, a person identifies himself with a differentiated type of collective response to a particular environment. It is a state of subservience to collective values, which again is very interesting. So if you watch my tarot reading, which I have just done previous to this, one of the cards that came out was the devil energy, which very much for me talks about this control, this subservience, this letting ourselves be controlled by other people's ideas, opinions and thoughts, rather than allowing our own discernment to guide us. So that is where I will be leaving the reading for the astrology. We do have the 3 cards, which I should have done earlier as well. We have the energy of the new moon in Taurus. Prosperity lies ahead. Taurus being very much, as I was saying, that kind of environmental, physical domain, opulence, indulgence, the idea of well-being and wealth and health. Then we have the fixed energy of holding the vision, keeping something on track, even if it hasn't actually materialized in the physical domain. It's saying kind of keep that idea there, whatever that idea may be. Again, that idea, that dream, that vision, that desire, because the new moon is saying that there is this new start coming. There is this new beginning. So those are the 3 cards that are most appropriate for this new moon energy. And I also pulled earlier a card from the Divine Feminine energy, Divine Feminine Oracle cards. And the card we got was Vajra Yogini. And it says of her, she is the essence of all Buddhas. And I have the power to make each moment sacred. Everything is material for my liberation. Which is kind of that same energy which I was talking about, the Black Moon Lilith and the Pluto trining all of that energy. It's that kind of realization of the physical not being permanent, like the impermanence of the physical and the kind of energy beyond the physical. So Vajrayogini is the power we all possess to transform mundane experiences into higher spiritual paths. Vajrayogini is considered the supreme deity of the Tantric pantheon. She is both a Dakini, Tantric priestess, and a female Buddha. According to scholar Miranda Shaw, no other male Buddha, including her divine consort, approaches her metaphysical or practical import. She is the essence of all the Buddhas, and to meditate on her brings immediate blessings to the practitioner. Her red body symbolizes, sorry, bit of a glare there. Her red body symbolizes her inner fire, and the flames that surround her represent her exalted wisdom. Her third eye reflects her ability to see through to the reality of all things in the past, present and future. She carries the Dakini's curved knife which cuts through all obstacles and illusions. And she holds a bowl of blood which represents the bliss that awaits us when we release the ego's attachment to who we are. Vajrayogini is a central figure in Vajrayana Buddhism and in Tantric initiations. She's considered a meditation deity and comes to a practitioner during a visualization of her form. She helps liberate us from ordinary conceptions and ordinary appearances. That sounds better. So that we can see through to the truth of what exists all around us. She is easier to reach during dark times in our lives. Even if we feel far from spiritual, she still wants to liberate us. So no matter what has happened recently or in the past, Vajrayogini reminds us that we possess the fierce wisdom that transmutes any pain, suffering, or suffering into deep lessons that free us and bring us more joy. Bring it a bit closer, I think that's probably slightly better. She's the call to wake up if we've fallen into that old myth that something or someone outside of us is going to save us. She's here to make it loud and clear that what is within us will save us. We can take this moment right here, right now, to turn everything sacred. Her energy is sharp, intense, and uncompromising. She does sound very much like Black Moon Lilith, in fact. She will not let you remain in an illusion or a disempowering story about who you really are. She wants you to sever all the ties to your ego's relationship to a person or to an event in your life. And see it again with the third eye, with the wisdom that can perceive the deeper spiritual path beneath the human drama. It's that sense of transcending that I was talking about with the Neptune sextile. It's kind of transcending it, going beyond the physical and emotional concepts of it. This red female Buddha is the power we all have in every moment to take a seemingly everyday event or annoyance or unfortunate occurrence and use it for our own enlightenment. She reminds us that everything is rich material for us to use to elevate our reality as an embodied soul. So the soul voice meditation is, can I see the lesson in the chaos? Which is very apt, in fact, at this time. And the intention is, I have the power to make each moment sacred. Everything is material for my liberation. Very Taurus material realm, which is being kind of brought into focus for us at this time. So lastly, I am going to pull a Namaste blessing card, or one or two. We'll see what happens, see what it has to say. For the new moon in Taurus, conjunct black moon Lilith, trining Pluto and sextile Neptune. Which is the best message for us at this time? For the new moon in Taurus, conjunct black moon Lilith, trining Pluto, sextile Neptune. Message for the collective. This new moon in Taurus, conjunct black moon Lilith, trining Pluto, sextile Neptune. So we get the blessing of faith. The universe is testing you. Okay, sorry, it's just, I think there's a word missing there. The universe is testing you. Will you be faithful and true to yourself? Be courageous, for you are supported by a divine ocean of love. You are gifted at this time with the blessing of a strong faith that will see you through the present challenges. Which again is very appropriate. I was talking about that moon in Leo telling us to be courageous, to face our emotions, face our darkness, which kind of is represented in that card as well. So those are the messages that I have for you for this new moon in Taurus. Conjunct black moon Lilith, trine Pluto and sextile Neptune astrology reading. Thank you very much to those of you who have listened to me, and thank you very much to those of you who have thumbs up my videos in the past. Please could you thumbs up this one as well, please, if you've got anything from it, if you've learned anything from it, if you found it of any interest. Please thumbs it up, because it really does help just to get it out into the bigger YouTube world, where the algorithms get to pick it up and then they can take it further out into the beyond realm, as I like to call it. Anyway, so yeah, if you've subscribed to my channel as well, thank you very much for doing that. I really do appreciate having you here. My whole plan is to try and grow this channel, so the more subscriptions I get, the more likes I get, the more it helps to grow the channel in general. So if you feel like sharing it with anybody else that you know as well, and telling them to subscribe or whatever, it's entirely up to yourselves, but it would really help me to grow my channel if you do help to share it. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. There is a button on the video, there is a button underneath the video, sometimes it's in either or place. If you tap that, you will get the little bell thing come up, which you can then decide as to whether or not you want to get any more of the videos as and when I put them out. I do the astrology, I do the tarot reading for all the full moon and new moon times as well. So all the sun signs will also be done over the month. So there is a playlist for anybody who's interested. Go and check that out as well. And lastly, just thank you again for being here, and just have a really good end of the new moon energy, moving over for the next 2 months until I get round to doing the next. It seems to come round so quickly, but I will get round to doing the rest of the sun signs as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there and say thank you again. Please take good care of yourselves and hopefully see you again soon.